So now that we've gotten in the basic proportions of our face, we're going to go ahead and start working on the shape of the eyes. Now, the basic shape of the top of the eye is just a subtle curve like that. Now, your partner's eyes might be just an even curve all the way across the top, or it might be that they have a curve that's a little bit higher on the inside and then slopes down, or it may be that the curve is a little bit higher on the outside. So go ahead and observe your partner's eyes and notice where the highest point along that curve is and sketch that in now. And then we're going to do the same thing for the shape of the bottom of the eye. The basic shape would just be an even curve, but again, you're going to look and see, is the curve lowest in the middle? Is it lowest on the outer edge, or is it lower on the inner edge? And it's really important to observe the shape of your partner's curve of their eyes, because that's one of the things that's going to help it look like them. Once you've gotten in the curve of the upper and lower edge of the eye, we're going to go ahead and draw in the iris. Now, the iris is the colored circle in the middle of your eye. Now, the thing with the iris is you don't actually see the entire circle. The top, about third of it, maybe quarter of it, is actually covered up by the upper eyelid. So you're really only seeing the bottom 3/4 or 2/3 of the iris. If you draw the whole iris in, it's going to make your person look like they're opening their eyes really, really wide, like they're scared, and I don't think you want that. So notice, how much of the iris do you see on your person? It may be that the bottom part is just touching the bottom eyelid. It may be that the bottom of the circle is a little bit above the eyelid, so you may see a little bit of the white of the eyeball in between, or it may be that the bottom part is just slightly cut off, the same as the top. So notice how much of that circle of the iris you see, and sketch that in now. And then once you've gotten in the shape of the iris, we're going to go ahead and draw in the shape of the pupil. The pupil is the little black circle right in the center of your iris. Keep in mind, it's a full circle, it's not just a tiny dot. Now, if your partner's iris is really, really dark, it may be hard to see the pupil because it'll blend in with the color of the iris, but go ahead and just sketch it in anyway where you imagine it would be. After you've gotten that done, we're going to go ahead and erase the line that we used for the center of the eyes. We're going to erase any of these little marks that we used to measure how wide the eyes were. We're going to erase any extra lines, and we're going to really clean up what we've done so far. So go in with your eraser, get everything all cleaned up so that you just have the shape of the eye that you want. And then if you kind of partially erased any of your lines like I did, you can go back and just carefully add those back in so that this time your lines are nice and clean and there aren't any extra marks. So I'm just sketching those back in. It's important to do this before we start our shading, because you don't want to do really careful shading and then have to go back and do a bunch of erasing of your extra marks. So the next thing we're going to add in is called the tear duct. For that, we're going to need to just erase the little inside corners of the eyes, and we're going to add a shape of the tear duct, which looks kind of like this, and that is the little pink part in the center of your eyes. So go ahead and notice the shape of your partner's tear duct, that little pink area on the center of their eyes. Draw in the outer shape of it, and then we're going to draw in a curved line right here, which shows where the white of your eyeball meets the pink of the tear duct. So we're drawing in a curved line on each eye. Next, we're going to draw in the shape of the eyelid. And the shape of the eyelid, just like the shape of the upper edge of the eye, it's pretty much just a nice, even, subtle curve. But again, really, really important to measure on your partner where the highest point is. Is it higher up here in the center? Is it higher on the outside? So notice the individual shape of their eyelids and then sketch those in now. Again, that's going to be important to get it accurate to make it look like your partner. And we'll go ahead and pause here. Once you're done with that, we'll start adding the shading of the eye.